She didn't look at me when she said it. Her little voice trembled, like glass on the edge of a table. "Uncle, there's something I need to tell you." Her fingers were small, but her grip was iron. She pulled me down the hallway, past the peeling wallpaper, past the locked doors I had never questioned, into the room that smelled faintly of perfume and rot, my brother's room. She let go of my hand and pointed. Her eyes didn't move. She was staring at the floor. At first I thought it was dust, but it wasn't. It was a notebook, torn at the edges, tucked halfway under the dresser. She whispered, "They told me never to open it, but I did." I picked it up. Pages full of neat handwriting, not hers, not a child's, my sister-in-law's. And what I read wasn't a diary. It was an inventory. The past. When my brother married her, I believed he'd finally found his anchor. She was all charm, laughter that filled a room, eyes that convinced you she cared. I stood beside him at the wedding, proud. I thought she was family. But charm is just a mask, and masks always slip. The first time I saw my niece sitting on the cold tiles of the bathroom, bent over her school books, I asked why. She said the light was better there. I believed her. I wanted to. Kids invent strange things. But the pattern didn't change. Night after night, she hid in that bathroom like it was safer than her own bed. And then, she led me to the notebook. The betrayal. I read page after page, notes about punishments, rules, when she was allowed to eat, when she wasn't. Words like non-compliance and obedience written in cold ink. It wasn't discipline, it was control. I realized why my niece chose the bathroom. It was the only place she could lock a door, the only place no one could drag her out from. And then I saw it. My name. My brother's wife had written about me too. She didn't trust me. She worried I'd notice. She wrote about ways to keep me on her side. Smiles, polite dinners, favors, lies. The betrayal burned slow in my chest. My own blood, blind to the cruelty happening under his roof. And his wife, the woman who had smiled at me across the table, asking about my work, laughing at my jokes, was starving his daughter and writing it down like science. The shift. I didn't confront her, not then. Anger is easy. Justice requires patience. So I folded the notebook and slipped it under my jacket. I told my niece nothing. I kissed the top of her head and told her to keep her homework in the bathroom if she wanted. That night I lay awake, reading the entries again and again until every word carved itself into memory. The plan formed quietly, precise, like stitching a wound. The plan. First, evidence. I placed cameras, tiny ones, in the hallway, the kitchen, near the bathroom door. Not to humiliate her, but to capture truth. Every plate of food scraped into the trash before my niece could touch it. Every order barked in that sharp, false, sweet tone. Second, the brother I once admired. I knew if I confronted him with accusations, he'd defend her. Love blinds men. But if I showed him evidence, if I dismantled her lies piece by piece, he'd have no choice. Third, timing. They had planned a weekend away. I would have 48 hours, enough to prepare, enough to act. Execution. When they left, I sat with my niece. I showed her the notebook. She didn't cry. She only whispered, "I knew you'd believe me." That night I copied everything. Files, footage, diary pages scanned and saved. Then I waited. When they returned Sunday evening, I was already seated at the dining table, the notebook in front of me, my laptop open. My brother looked confused. His wife's smile flickered. "Sit," I told them. They did. I pressed play. The screen filled with her voice, sharp as broken glass. Her hand yanking a plate away from a child. My niece's small frame flinching at every command. My brother's face drained. He turned to his wife. "What is this?" She laughed too quickly, called it discipline, called me dramatic. I slid the notebook toward him. Read. He did. His hands shook. And then, the final blow. The files already sent, to the school counselor, to child services, to his lawyer. Her face collapsed when she realized this wasn't an argument she could win. This was the end. The climax. She screamed, swore I had twisted everything. But every word condemned her further. My brother couldn't look at her. The officers came quietly. They always do when the evidence is airtight. She begged my brother to speak. He didn't. He only held his daughter's hand. I watched from the doorway as they led her out. Her mask was gone. The charm, the smile, it all broke. She finally saw what she'd never expected. I had been patient. And patience is the sharpest blade. Resolution. That night, my niece did her homework at the kitchen table. The light was soft. Her shoulders relaxed. My brother sat across from her, silent, broken.